Ah, Jesus, I wish you could see this. Life is coming up. I've never seen a painting that captures the ocean in a moment like this. I'm gonna make you doing proper drum and bass. Now this is your wake-up call, go to work. Sorry for the inconvenience, but right now I'm not really in my studio, I'm on Bali. So I made a rather simple camera setup, but I hope it does the job. I want to show a get from very simple breakbeats over to complex jungle drums that usually I'm using in my songs. So let's just straight start it and check Ableton Live. What I'm having here is just a plain DAW template. So instead of starting from already sliced samples and having them already arranged in the drum pad synthesizer from Ableton, I'd rather prefer having wave files and stretch them and then slice them individually again. So I'm just pulling this in here into my Ableton. I set already the interesting points to start with, which is for the aiming break it's here, and I think it's there, so let's check this out. Yeah. Then I slice it up and create new MIDI tracks out of it. Warp markers. Before I continue, I want to show you two techniques. So one is obviously to take the WAV file and straight put it onto the timeline and stretch it in Ableton Live. And then you can cut it and arrange it around. So this is what I'm going to do first. But the second thing is, of course, to slice it up and create and convert it to MIDI notes and play it with the drum synthesizer, with the drum sampler. And I think there is no right or wrong, but both techniques have their benefits. So the first one obviously is quite faster. You just put it in there, and that's the nature of Ableton Live, and you can arrange it around. But the second, if you have it in MIDI notes, you have the MIDI clips. I mean, you can have the same thing with the clips and wave files. But once you have MIDI clips, it's easier to put the wave stuff around back and forth and up and down, you know what I'm saying? And once you have that, you can create deviations from that, variations from that. And you can create variations of that clip and create complexity. And this is what this video is about, right? So let's jump in there and show this to you very, very, very fast, very simple. So I'm just putting in here my helicopter sample. Copying this to my timeline, and we start from there, creating some copies. Then from here it's already quite helpful to have an idea how the sample looks like or sounds like or is arranged. So for example, I want to start 4 times with this kick. I slice this up and reverse it, for example. Oh, by the way, if you have very long samples and you just press this R button for reverse in Ableton, it's quite helpful before to consolidate it to a new file. Like I think it's Command J on the Mac and Control J on the Windows, because then you don't reverse the whole sample, but just this one part. And once I'm here, right, I can duplicate this again. And in here, edit, reverse, create new variations. Duplicate, reverse that. And once I've got that, I duplicate this again. And in here, create variations. You get this game, right? Then number 2, I sliced up here already my aiming break. And by the way, here it's already quite helpful if you have this in your DAW. And for example, for a sample like the aiming break, you already can have your cue points or the warp markers. So therefore, you don't have to slice it up again so often. But what I want to do here is, I really enjoy this kick and having straight this snare afterwards. I'm going to use these warp markers for my drum pads. Let's also have this crash. All right, and convert it to a MIDI track. Last slice, we don't need it. We start with a very simple aim and break. And here the same game. So this is my basic pattern. I now can extend it, right, and add complexity, duplicate that one, then using here the right, the crash, listen to it. Sorry, this guy was just walking around here on my camera. So sorry, I got distracted a little bit by this guy. I think he wants to show me that he's here the boss, which of course we all know. So I'm just finishing my video and then I'm off here, okay? Having a coffee, by the way. Going to the studio, I think, is easier for me to focus on making some complex beats and anything else I'm doing in the studio. So let's be here for a second and then go back to the beach. Next, I'm adding some onward effects of Ableton. And therefore, I can use a MIDI controller. Map this to this slider. Let's map this maximum to 50%. So, yeah, that's how I like it. Let's close WhatsApp. Next effect. Let's remove this mapping, add it here, but this time I keep it like this. Honestly, maybe it's a little bit too much of everything, but you get the idea. Since now I'm in the studio, I want to show you my favorite glitch plugin, which is this Debug glitch. I'm using this for years already. And before talking a lot, let me show you what is happening here. So you see different effects are in here. I think most of them you can also rebuild with Ableton stock plugins. But the way how I'm using it is not really this pattern mode. I like to control this via my DAW. So how I'm doing this is the following. I create a new pattern. I add another MIDI track, and with this MIDI track I call it glitch control. I'm sending this to the A-Man's glitch. And now I can, just for testing, now I can just add here notes, and with the notes I can change the pattern. And you're asking yourself why I'm doing this, but with this mode I can precisely control which effect is added. For example, a tape stop. That's my target now, okay? So just for testing purposes, I have here this pattern. Let's say C1, I control here, and then the next one, C2, C#1. So if you check here, the scene, how it's called in glitch, is changing. So in the first one I can, for example, add here this tape stop I told you. Okay, wait a second. And now I'm extending this effect. So here, here. Then in the third pattern, let's add some stretching effect here. And in the fourth pattern, let's add some reverser there. Let's see how this sounds like. Great. Since this is obviously a little bit too much, I'm stretching everything a little bit, but you get the idea. The effect is working. So let's just slow down the whole pattern. And I'm also using one pattern, let's say here G1 is empty, because otherwise it would repeat itself too often. See here, there's the same effect. So that's why I'm adding here this empty pattern as well. Let's see how this sounds like. And here another tape stop. Alright, then last but not least, let me add some further samples. Making some room for the new sample. Adding some effects to the way how I like it. Removing some of the pinks width and also cutting the low. Adding some distortion to this loop. Just to add some kind of clarity. Alright. Give everything yellow color because that's my color coding for drums. Again, adding my main bus to the group and check what the peaks are saying. And for reasons of pleasure, let's add a sample in the bass line. I should make a tune out of that, but first let's go back to the beach. This is how I'm creating my complex drums in a nutshell. If you want to see more production techniques like this, just check out the other making of videos I'm doing and videos on my channel where I'm describing some things more in detail. But that's it. And hope you enjoyed it. And now I'm going to have some coffee because now the sun has come up and I want to have some proper breakfast and talk to you soon. Bye.